Hey everybody out there, it's Pastor John with your Midweek Reflection. We are continuing towards the culmination of our Politics of Jesus series. Last week we started looking at the Holy Week portion of Luke's Gospel in Luke 20. And this week we're going to be looking at the arrest and trial of Jesus in Luke 22 and 23. And I think we really, as I said last week, this is where we really start to get a really clear picture of the heart of Jesus' politics, because Jesus is coming into direct encounter with the empire and the powers that be in his part of the world, in his time. And so there's this really clear contrast in how Jesus does things and how the empire does things. But I had a really interesting discussion this week at our sermon growth group on Wednesdays at noon, which, quick plug, you should come to, because we go deeper into the text and the message of the sermon and ask even more questions about how it relates to us and to our lives. Anyway, had a really interesting conversation this past week, and it really stemmed from looking at the events of Luke 19, Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem, and of course when he gets there is when he cleanses the temple, and he's turning over tables, and he says, "This is a house of prayer, but you've made it into a den of robbers." And we looked at these scenes and thought, was Jesus trying to get himself killed? Because in some ways, these actions are different than the kinds of things Jesus had done prior to this. And there are times where Jesus is secretive, where he all eyes are on him, and he retreats to a different place. He tells people not to tell other people about things he's done. And all of a sudden, it's like Jesus is just shining the spotlight on himself and doing things that are going to get people mad. Whether it's coming into Jerusalem with this parade on a donkey on one side of Jerusalem, and many scholars think that this was almost a mimicry of the parade that would have brought Pilate into Jerusalem with white steeds and soldiers and I was going to say guns, but I guess they didn't have those, but swords and all of these things on the other side. That this is really kind of a jarring, almost antagonistic thing that Jesus is doing in fulfilling this prophetic, this prophecy about the king coming into Jerusalem on a donkey, in contrast to the empire's entrance into Jerusalem, or cleansing the temple and really challenging all the economic and religious and government all coming together in the temple. Jesus really challenges that and throws it into chaos. Is Jesus trying to get himself killed? And if so, or if at the very least he's doing these things with a full consciousness of what kind of consequences and implications those are going to have. Why? What is Jesus' mission in Jerusalem? What is Jesus trying to accomplish? Why does Jesus walk right into the cross? What does that accomplish? And if you're going to be quick to say, well, just so he could forgive the sins of the world, I want to encourage you to think a little bit more about why the cross. Why all of these scenes surrounding the cross, the triumphal entry and the cleansing of the temple, the trial, the arrest, all of these things. Why all of that? What does that accomplish? Why is that so essential to the Gospels and to this narrative that we've been following about Jesus and his mission to inspire an imagination for a new kind of world and a new polis? What is Jesus trying to accomplish in Jerusalem? This is something we're going to explore a little bit more this week, and so I would encourage you to just reflect on that a little bit as we head towards Sunday's worship service and sermon. I've really been challenged, and I hope you are, by this series and this message in particular this week. And so I look forward to how that plays out in our conversation and our worship on Sunday. As always, I look forward to worshiping with you as we live the gospel life together. Until then, may God bless you.